Good evening and welcome to New York Theater Barn's Choreography Lab Live. I'm Joe Barros and I'm the Artistic Director of New York Theater Barn.
And I'm Avital Asuleen, the Creator and Director of the Choreography Lab. Tonight we are bringing you the last Choreography Lab of our 8th season. And tonight's broadcast will also be simulcast to Broadway On Demand.
That's right, and this is a virtual hybrid presentation that will focus on creating movement at the intersection of theater and film. We're thrilled to continue our partnership with Full Out Creative, who has collaborated with the choreographers to film their pieces. We recently collaborated again with Full Out Creative on a residency of Sueños, Our American Musical. The original musical, written by Mexican-American writer Jessie J. Sanchez, has a predominantly all Latinx cast, and there has never been a musical like this until now. Sueños was given the opportunity to breathe and evolve on its feet for the first time when it was featured in the Choreography Lab a year ago with choreography by Kristen Yancey. The residency was directed and choreographed by Maria Torres, and here's a glimpse inside the incubation of Sueños, Our American Musical. In celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, New York Theater Barn hosted a residency of Sueños, Our American Musical, an original musical by Mexican-American writer Jessie J. Sanchez. Sueños tells the untold story of 3 generations of a Mexican-American family and their pursuit of the American dream.
The residency created a safe and supportive space for Sueños to grow and evolve authentically.
This original musical celebrates Latinx people and cultures and weaves our stories into the fabric of the American musical theater. Featuring a predominantly Latinx cast, there has never been a musical like this until now.
The company paired Broadway film and TV director-choreographer Maria Torres with the show in a week-long residency produced in partnership with Curated Productions, Broadway United, Straighten Your Crown Productions, and Full Out Creative.
New York Theater Barn brought me on board to deliver some authentic sabor Latino. Having worked on Broadway and in the entertainment business for several decades, I've seen a lot, but unfortunately, we don't see nearly as many Latino stories being told on Broadway, which is why I couldn't believe the support I was given by the New York Theater Barn. I was handed an already beautiful piece with Broadway potential, a Latino associate, music director, and a cast. And when I wanted to explore more, New York Theater Barn supported me and my vision, allowing the process to include a Latin percussionist and the freedom to be us, to create in space freely and authentically. The support of the New York Theater Barn means investment in the process. Even with a small staff, they can deliver outstanding, high-quality work. New York Theater Barn is at the forefront of incubating original, culture-shifting works.
If you believe as we do that stories shape the way we see ourselves and the world around us, we hope that you'll join us in our mission of incubating culture-shifting musicals. New York Theater Barn is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and your gifts are tax-deductible. You can make a donation at any time by going to www.newyorktheaterbarn.org/give, or you can text 631-710-NYTV. That's 631-710-6982. By donating today, you can make Sueños come true.
Wow, I'm so proud of the work we were able to accomplish in that residency.
I'm proud too. I loved having Sueños in our Choreography Lab last year, and I am thrilled that this spectacular show is continuing to grow at New York Theater Barn.
Me as well. And for the past year, New York Theater Barn has presented 96 original musicals, lifting up the work of over 180 writers while making space for over 600 artists. The company recently launched Theater Barn Records, a new imprint of Broadway records, and dedicated to new musicals in development, and a new podcast from Broadway Podcast Network called The Musicals of Tomorrow.
Right, the podcast, which is super exciting. It's great that people can now hear about new musical theater development on the go. You can find The Musicals of Tomorrow on Broadway Podcast Network, and you can also subscribe to the podcast on all of the major subscription platforms.
That's right. We've got 7 episodes now, so it's very exciting.
There we go.
Tonight we're bringing you our 5th hybrid choreography lab and our 3rd lab in collaboration with the incredible Full Out Creative team. We're incredibly proud of the fact that while our in-person labs often had fairly intimate audiences, our virtual labs have now been streamed several thousand times on YouTube to a global audience.
Wow, Choreography Lab is growing, that is for sure. In tonight's open lab, 3 choreographers will each present a narrative dance piece of their own devising. I really love that we continue to offer this lab format. As most of you already know, many, who knows, our choreography labs often involve the collaboration of a choreographer and writers in order to develop dance in new musical theater development. However, in our open lab, choreographers have the opportunity to create something themselves entirely from scratch.
That's right, and we've always loved this lab because it fosters a unique sense of agency in a theatrical choreographer. Here, the choreographers are asked to both create and communicate their own stories. Through exploration and a safe space to take risks, the lab is also a chance for a choreographer to make the work incredibly personal.
And the choreographers are tasked with shaping both narrative and character solely through movement.
That's right, and over the years, the lab has explored a dizzying array of stories and themes, including World War II love stories, time travel, deep sea exploration, horror movies, Chinese twins separated at birth, and so much more. We can't wait to see what our 3 choreographers have in store tonight.
Our mentorship program is also so important to us, and that is going to be continuing tonight. We have paired each participating choreographer with a mentor choreographer, and we are so pleased to tell you that for the very first time, all of our mentor choreographers are also alumni of the Choreography Lab themselves.
Yay.
Yeah, which is really cool. I thought that was cool, and I'm excited. The wonderful Shiloh Goodin mentored choreographer Ariana Andretta, the great James Harkness mentored choreographer Christine Shepard, and the amazing Rachel Leigh Dolan mentored choreographer Sarah Juliet Shaw, because they each have 3 names, so that's why we did that.
The mentors met with their assigned choreographer to discuss an initial approach into the work and provided feedback during the rehearsal process. New York Theater Barn is thrilled to present this educational opportunity during these unprecedented times and with such generous and collaborative mentors.
Absolutely. And the safety of all participating artists and personnel has been our main priority throughout this process.
And now here to tell us more about the safety protocols and COVID guidelines we've followed throughout this process with COVID Compliance Officer and Managing Director of New York Theater Barn, Kate Trammell.
Hey.
Good evening. Everyone here is masked while off camera. Everyone who is unmasked has had a negative COVID test within the past 48 hours. Mics are cleaned after each use, and the entire team on site today is fully vaccinated. Broadway Dance Center has generously reserved part of the building for us, so we had plenty of space to operate safely. As always, we are adhering to CDC guidelines and New York State media production guidelines. We also have certified COVID compliance officers monitoring the set and ensuring that all protocols are being followed tonight. We look forward to sharing a live and in-person lab with you again very soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Kate. We appreciate that.
That was really wonderful. Let's see. All right, and we finally just want to do a few thank yous. We want to thank Broadway Dance Center for all of their generosity and help during this lab, and Full Out Creative for partnering with us to produce this event. None of this would have been possible without their support.
Absolutely, so thank you so much. All right, let's get started.
All right, so our first choreographer of the evening is Sarah Juliet Shaw.
That's right. Sarah is a New York-based performer, choreographer, and teacher. She holds a BS in Dance and Psychology from Skidmore College and is a graduate of Broadway Dance Center's summer professional semester. She's presented her choreography at Broadway Dance Center, the National Museum for Dance, Skidmore College Open House, and in Colombo, Sri Lanka with Sea Legs Dance Company.
I want to know more about that.
Me as well.
I know. And joining us now, Sarah Juliet Shaw. Hey, wonderful. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us just a little bit about your choreographic background.
So I started choreographing in college, and I felt very sort of cornered when I was there. And so when I moved to the city, I didn't choreograph for a really long time. And over the course of the pandemic, I had the opportunity to start teaching a lot. And that really inspired me to start choreographing again and start putting my choreography out there. And that is what gave me the motivation to apply for the Choreography Lab. So here I am.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you tonight. Tell us a little bit more about the piece you're presenting.
So the piece that I'm presenting is called Norma Jean. It is about sort of the way that society views women. That was sort of my inspiration for the piece, and I feel like Marilyn very much embodies sort of the ideal way that society views women, or viewed, but still views, I think. And so that was my inspiration for the piece.
I'm excited to see that because I recently saw Diana on Netflix, and it's also written by men, and it's very much a male-driven story about a really powerful and iconic woman.
Absolutely, I watched it as well.
I agree. That sounds really interesting and poignant as well. All right, I think it's time.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
So let's meet your amazing mentor, the incredible Rachel Leigh Dolan. She's a two-time Helen Hayes Award-winning choreographer and educator based in Brooklyn, New York. And like we mentioned to you earlier, she's an alumnus of the lab. She is the founder and artistic director of Best 8, a New York Foundation for the Arts fiscally sponsored arts project that creates theatrical works for digital media and uplifts historically excluded artists in all aspects of production. Rachel's choreography has been featured at Arena Stage, Olney Theater Center, Lyric Theater of Oklahoma, Holland America's Cruise Line, and New York Theater Barn. Sarah, come on over. Rachel, good to see you. Thanks so much. Let's move over here.
Yeah, of course.
So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about what it's been like to work with Rachel.
Oh my gosh, it's been absolutely phenomenal. I think probably my favorite part about working with Rachel has been that she teaches regularly as well at Broadway Dance Center. And so I was really blessed to be assigned a mentor who I can also get in their class and see how they work and get to know them as a teacher and as a choreographer. And I love taking class. It's like I wish I could be a professional class taker.
I have said that before.
Yeah.
I took a life coach session once, and I said that, like, to my life coach. I was like, oh, I wish I could just take dance class all day.
Honestly, at this point, sometimes I kind of feel like that's what I am, but at least over the course of the pandemic. But so that has been really, really wonderful. I really appreciate that she teaches regularly and that I was able to get to know her in that way. I feel like taking someone's class it's the best way to get to know them. So it was really amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing. All right. Well, I think it's time now to hear a little bit from Rachel about what this process was like and what it was like collaborating with Sarah.
Yeah, this was cool. I mean, something that I talk about a lot in my role as a choreographer, as a teacher, and Avi, you and I have talked about this before too, is like the importance of mentorship, of being in mentorship and those relationships. And as I drive my career forward, that's becoming a bigger aspect of it. So the chance to get to work with someone like Sarah, who's super eager and super smart, was awesome. And like she said, she's been in my class, but I've also had her assist me a couple times so we can continue to like keep a conversation going around like what is theater dance and why are we doing what we're doing. And so forging those relationships is everything, because we're only as good as the company we keep, period, end of story, right? We need to continue to surround ourselves with inspiring and exciting people, and Sarah is totally an inspiring and exciting person, so I'm excited for this for her, and for you all to see too.
Oh, I love all of that. Thank you so much again for being here in person this evening. We totally appreciate it. All right, I think Mike goes back this way now. Amazing. And we'll see you again at the end of the evening, Rachel, for more discussion and talking. I think I have one more question for Sarah, and then we'll see her piece.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel.
All right, so I guess I just sort of in response to that, I'm curious to know what was it like getting to work with Rachel? Like, just as you were shaping the piece, did you feel like you were able to, I guess, sort of like put in any like shifts or implementation as you were kind of creating and shaping?
Yes, it was, it was such a quick process, which was great. It really put a lot of pressure on me to like get it done and not dilly-dally, which is amazing. I think that the biggest thing that I specifically learned from Rachel is to be confident, and like especially when you have so little time to put together a piece. I feel like a lot of what I came to her with as my qualms were, I don't think I can do this. And she never allowed that to be part of the conversation. It was very much, no, you can do this, and that was really what I needed from her. I mean, she obviously offered me choreographic guidance as well, but that to me was the most valuable part of working with her.
Amazing. That's wonderful. All right. I think it is time for us to see Norma Jean. Oh, and we also have to mention, not only was this piece choreographed by you, but it also features your videography, which I must say is quite lovely. So this project also features performances by Rachel Mia Ackerman and Marjorie Filoni. And here is Norma Jean.
A woman about whom it truly may be said she needs no introduction. But let me just say, here she is. But I'll give her an introduction anyway, Mr. President, because in the history of show business, perhaps there has been no one female who meant so much, who has done more. Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
President, for all the things you've done, the battles that you've won, the way you deal with U.S. Steel and our problems by the ton. We thank you so much. Everybody, happy birthday!
Last night, her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, noticed that Miss Monroe still had her bedroom light on at midnight. At 3 a.m., Miss Murray found the light still on, the door locked. A physician, hurriedly summoned, broke a bedroom window, found the actress dead in bed. Holding in one hand a telephone which was off its hook, with an empty bottle of sleeping pills nearby. No notes were found, but since the actress was known to have been depressed of late, a deputy coroner listed the death as an apparent suicide.
Marilyn Monroe is dead. Not since Jean Harlow have the standards of feminine charm been so embodied in the form of one woman. Whatever attracts man to woman, she possessed. The moralists have decried our modern emphasis on sex, but no one can ignore it. It is important. Marilyn Monroe was this era's sex symbol. And for this reason, if for no other, she was important.
See, that's the trouble. A sex symbol becomes a thing. Well, I just hate to be a thing.
Wow, that was wonderful. I loved all of the nuance and nostalgia and just sort of all of the evocative emotion that was inside of that piece. So just a few questions for you. As we were saying before, Marilyn Monroe continues to hold the public's imagination in a way that I think is kind of singular. Is there an additional reason that drew you to explore Marilyn in particular?
Yes, well, like I said earlier, I feel like Marilyn Monroe was this epitome of what women were supposed to be in society. And I feel like if I'm exploring that topic, she was the obvious choice to pursue. And she's great.
And talk to me a little bit about that track that you were dancing to, right? Because it was kind of a little musical compilation of stuff.
Yeah, of stuff, exactly. So it was a challenge for us because of the live stream that we had to make sure that we were using music that wasn't like copyrighted or anything. So I had to, when I was trying to think of an idea of what to come up with, I was like, oh gosh, like what am I gonna use? Like Happy Birthday or something? It was the first like non-copyrighted song that came to my head. And then I thought of, Marilyn singing Happy Birthday, and that's what really encouraged me to do it, inspired me to do it. So I started with the Marilyn singing Happy Birthday, and everything else just kind of got added on. The other parts of the track were the man who introduced her at Madison Square Garden when she sang, and then I used a piece of a news clip of a news reporter reporting her death. And then that very last clip is from an interview with Marilyn, her very last interview, in fact, 2 days before she died.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. This was great. We look forward to having you back. This has been just a really great experience, and we will see you at our panel at the end of the evening.
Thank you so much.
Of course, you're so welcome.
Great.
Cool. And we will have a chance to chat with Sarah one more time this evening. As I just said, all three choreographers will join me to discuss their process. We will be moving on to our second choreographer soon, but first let's learn a little bit more about how you can support New York Theater Barn from our Associate Artistic Director, Jen Sandler.
Hello. Hi, I'm Jen Sandler. I'm the Associate Artistic Director of New York Theater Barn and one of the producers of tonight's lab. Over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the most amazing writers and creatives. The stories they're telling are inspiring and needed, and it makes my job the easiest. The pandemic happened, and I knew we had to bring all of our programming online right away. We literally didn't even wait a week. And here we are 19 months later. Wow. Musical theater development is more accessible than ever. Funded in part by a generous gift from the Amber Foundation, the Choreography Lab was created to elevate and expand the use of dance in musical theater. The lab is also the only curated choreography platform that we know of where choreographers and writers collaborate to develop movement for new musicals during incubation. We are grateful for our gifts from the Amber Foundation, but it will only fund part of our lab as we continue to grow. It takes an incredible amount of work to make tonight's show happen, and in order to continue to lift up artists and original musicals, we really need your help. Please join our generous donors by making your gift today on our website at nytheaterbarn.org/give. And making a gift tonight is also so easy, and actually it's really, really fun too. So tonight you can quickly donate by text at any point during the presentation or even when it's over. And you can do that at 631-710-6982. That number is 631-710. Those last 4 digits are NYTB. Again, 631-710-6982. New York Theater Barn is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and your gift tonight is tax deductible. Thank you for supporting live theater, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jen Sandler, for making donating a lot of fun and for a very good cause. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And thank you also for making this lab happen and for managing our title cards and the broadcast. Now we're going to move on to the second number of the evening, American History 101 by choreographer Christine Shepard.
Yes. Christine is a graduate of Pace University's commercial dance program and has been seen in the Broadway companies of Head Over Heels and Mean Girls. Her vast dance training and love of learning has helped her curate a movement signature all her own. With time, Christine hopes to make more space for artists like herself while promoting other storytellers who deserve the mic. Welcome, Christine Shepard.
Hey,
Come
Christine.
on out.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Yeah, hey, Christine. Thanks for being here. So I want to know a little bit more about your movement signature. What are some of the dance styles and inspirations that you draw from?
Totally. So I find a lot of value in versatility. So I feel as though my style is kind of a different mix and hodgepodge of all the different types of classes that I've taken throughout my educational experience, whether that be from African jazz to whacking to modern or to mambo. I really try to, just because I feel like I am fortunate to live in a place that is a melting pot. So why not be able to emulate that with my art and melt my own styles together to make a new one?
Oh, that's amazing. That's so well said. I am really looking forward to you presenting your work. Speaking of which, can you tell us a little bit more about the piece that you've created tonight?
Yeah, so it's called American History 101, and the original kind of full idea actually was loosely inspired by a history teacher that I had. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, and this teacher was, it's not everybody's cup of tea, if you know what I'm trying to say. And it was not my cup of tea, and I love tea, so it was a big adjustment for me to have a teacher like that. But this opportunity gave me a chance to kind of go back and relive in a different facet how I felt and how other students must have felt experiencing that type of educational environment. Yeah, and I'm also a history nerd. Like, I definitely just love history. Like, if this was a full show, there would be a bunch of, inside nerd jokes about, colonizers and all that awful things, you know what I'm saying?
I love that. We'll have to talk more about that. That's actually what my degrees are in.
Okay,
We'll
this
talk
is gonna
about
be fun.
that some other time.
That kind of reminds me of the new show that John Leguizamo's bringing in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, you were mentored by the incredible James Harkness. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. James is a prolific performer, choreographer, director, and singer-songwriter who has pretty much been in every medium all over the country. As a performer, he's performed in the Broadway productions currently of Ain't Too Proud, Aida, and The Color Purple. And as a creative, he was the Best Director nominee for a regional production of The Color Purple. His work has also been featured in the Choreography Lab twice, once on a piece of his own devising, and once in collaboration with composer-lyricist Michael Cooper. So Christine, share with us a little bit more about what the experience was like working with James on this process.
Yeah, it was a really cool exchange. He's such a intricate person with how he describes his own visions and art in general. So when I would just send him rehearsal clips like, hey, send me your thoughts, it was usually voice memos of da-da-da this, da-da-da that, raise their hand now, boom, and I was like, oh, yeah, talking and reading and talking, sometimes it depends on the person, whether you absorb it through word of mouth or through reading it and actually hearing it. I am somewhat of an audible and learner and also a physical touch learner as well. So because I had that gap away from, he couldn't be in my rehearsal process. So I wasn't been able to utilize him in that way, but the fact that he wanted to speak with me in that way was very helpful to be able to relay his vision so that it could heighten mine.
That's awesome. I mean, I think what we've really realized during this time and pairing people with these mentors is that with the technology we have available now, that there's so a vast opportunity for very even busy people to have an impact with emerging choreographers. Absolutely. And to sort of say hey, you can see this rehearsal footage, you can offer feedback. It doesn't necessarily have to mean you have to be there or showing up.
Right.
So it's really interesting. It's one of the high points of the whole pandemic time for me has been seeing how this works. All right, so before we show you Christine's wonderful piece, we do have another little video clip for you. James was not able to be here this evening, but he did want to speak a bit about working with Christine. So let's go to James Harkness.
Hey everybody, my name is James Harkness, and I want to, look at that, talk about a lighting cue. I had the pleasure of mentoring Christine Shepard for this Choreography Lab presentation. And I just want to talk really briefly about what a wonderful experience it was to have worked with Christine. One of the things I really loved about working with her on before we even had our first conversation, is she sent me a script of the work that she was doing. So she sat down and thought out the whole process, and she wrote down a script with character names, with a full storyline for this bit. And I thought that was such a wonderful thing to see a emerging choreographer do, because this choreographer is thinking from the terms of story before the movement comes along. And so what excites me about working with an emerging choreographer in general, or in this moment of time, I had the blessing of being mentored by a dear friend named Tiger Martina, and just having someone who had done work that makes you, that has a viewpoint that you don't, and that can see things that you cannot see. And I found it incredibly helpful, and it still affects the way I choreograph today, the things that I learned from him. So having an opportunity to do that for someone else, even in this way of doing it via social media and via online, I think it's a very beneficial thing to just have that extra eye, that extra little bit of knowledge. And also, I will say for me, and this is what I said to Christine, is it also is a learning experience for me, because I get to learn from someone who doesn't think the way that I think. So that is very important, and I love that part of the process. And what do I want emerging choreographers to have the space to be able to do? To create. I want any choreographer, emerging choreographers, existing choreographers, to have the freedom to create the stories that mean something to them. And that's the only way that we're going to continue to push the narrative forward, to continue to push work and life forward, is just having the freedom to create freely. So I think it's a wonderful thing that New York Theater Barn is doing for these choreographers, and I wish you guys all the best. Christine, thank you for sharing your time with me, and I hope that I was of some benefit to you as well. Mwah. I wish you guys all the best. Bye.
That was lovely. James is such a lovely bright light, and I loved his glowing illumination thing that happened.
Literally.
And it is wonderful also that Ain't Too Proud reopened this weekend that he is in. All right, I think it is time for us to see American History 101, because this number called for an interior location. We made the decision to film it in studio at Broadway Dance Center.
All right, and this piece features performances by Ross Thompson, Morgan Harrison, Satori Folkestone, Natalia Nueves, Rodney Jackson, and Danique Jones.
Is that really you in the flesh? Well, I'll be damned. Yeah, girl, it's me.
I told you I was going to get that piece of paper.
You've always been a woman of your word.
You know it. And you know who else knows it? My wallet. This shit is expensive.
But for real, girl, the things I've heard about this teacher, boo-boo crazy. This man may genuinely be from 1908. Maybe older. Maybe he's the son of Ponce de Leon, colonizer and fountain of youth obsessor.
Come on, vocab. See, that's why I'm paying for college.
Shut up. But for real, this guy is a Looney Tune. I mean, it's like he has no idea what time period he lives in. Like, his privilege ate his ability to live in this reality. I know it's day one, but you know my strong-ass intuition. We are in for a ride.
Well, if this is going to be a ride, I hope he's a dancing Six Flags guy.
Morning, peasants! Well, if you don't like medieval humor, it's going to be a tough semester for you. My name is Mr. Paxton, spelled how you think. And if you don't know, it's on the board. Anyway, American history is way too much stuff to be talking about in one semester, if you ask me. Also, I'm not going to take role. We're all adults here. Either show up or don't. I could care less. Anyway, as I was saying, American history. Wow. Am I right? No, I'm white. Well, yeah, the truth can hurt sometimes. So, anyway.
He told you my intuition.
I'd call the cops.
His dad's probably a cop, or a brother, or girlfriend if by some miracle he has one.
I want to dip, but my pride is way too loud right now. I can't wait to talk him down.
Excuse me, in the back. Can't hear you, but I know you're not listening.
Just some knowledge to remind myself. I pass it on to you now. Be blessed. You can tell a lot about a man by the drop of the blood. Specific bloodline of your past, present, and future. But look at here's some shit I hate to entertain. We may all be different colors, but we all bleed the same. They say my blood done it ain't good enough. Filled with urge, science still ain't suit enough. Ain't that shit tough ever since I was 2 years old? See what I was told. Due to the melanin, they see your skin as a sin. My mom called this the one drop rule. A drop of my blood supposed to affect the whole damn pool. What do you do when this is what they teach about you in schools? I pity the fools, they might die in 3. It's black folks begging on their knees, please. All we see is struggle, but we're kings and queens. Can't wait for the day when my drop of blood ripples off the land, causing tidal waves of love and change. If I was born by the river, then let my love float away. Run and let the river of Jordan to the Dead Sea. Resurrect those who only see death in me. Let them see I can only be me. Hey, do you feel me now? One drop low, make a river to the doors of my destiny.
So, for all we know, the Underground Railroad could be a giant myth. Word of mouth is our least reliable source of info.
Guess we should just scrap the Bible then, huh?
There's a sensation meant to build a nation. Hold your crown out when you walk in every room and every place. And your eyes are the moonlight to someone's Oscar that may not know your name, but that shit shouldn't stop you. You're blessed from the tunes of many moons that came before you. Your blackness is a reminder of the greatness that's inside you. Just some knowledge to remind myself. I pass it on to you now. Be blessed.
What's your name again?
Pain in your ass. I know we're all adults here, but I can spell it for you if you need.
Okay, class, stand for the pledge. Miss Butterworth, you can say after class. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My country full of these selective liberties, freedom they tease. Land where so many die for basic human rights. There is so much to fight. Blood in the streets.
Wow, Christine, that was incredible. I loved how the number kind of shifted from like real time in the classroom into then kind of like into the moody, other kind of place.
Yeah.
That was very cool, and I felt like that was like really clear and like nicely captured, even though it was done in a studio.
Yeah.
So cool, congrats.
Thank you.
So your piece obviously touches on some pretty serious issues, right? And we discussed a little too how that was from your personal experience,
Totally.
right? And that, obviously these are important things to put into our art.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel that dance is an important medium through which we can explore issues like this?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it kind of kills the language barrier that we have. Dance is such a universal language, and movement doesn't need words. Words can enhance it, but movement has the ability to tell stories in such dramatic ways that words not always are able to convey. And also, we're in a digital age where reading doesn't seem to be as much of a leisure thing as a social thing as much. Social media has really watered down the importance of reading. So I feel like in order to still be able to have my voice heard, I have to be able to communicate myself in a bunch of different mediums. And dance has a powerful way to be able to be put into a bunch of different forms and in a bunch of different spaces and still have the same message come across, no matter how it funnels through.
I love that. I love that as an answer. That's really amazing. And then I'm just curious, was there anything over the course of this journey, like in particular, that you chose to approach differently as a result of your conversations and discussions with James? Anything you can kind of like point to in the piece?
Yeah, I think he definitely just like just ripped the top off of it. It was already a pretty like spicy hot sauce we were dealing with. The topic's a little woo, and the movement's intricate, and we're in Broadway Dance Center. There's a bunch of different reasons why it's like whoa, but I think James was kind of like, go with it.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of what his best advice was, like all the things that feel like they're obstacles, all the things that feel like this, take them and use them and run with them. Let that be the fuel to the fire. And I really think that did help when the pressure called, because clearly I think all of the choreographers had that moment of like, can I do this? Am I sure? Help? You know what I mean? And he was very good at being like, yeah. But not only can you do it, here's how you can do it. You know what I mean? And if you don't want to listen to me, don't listen to me. But know that you have just as strong of an intuition as I do. So that was really cool to hear and be reassured by.
That's great. I love that. Well, Christine, thank you so much for being here and for showing us your piece.
Thank you.
You will be back in a few moments when we bring back our whole little panel discussion. But for now, I will say goodbye to you. And I will see you shortly, soon. All right, should we do-si-do again? I like how it's great. I feel like we're on like Schmigadoon when we do-si like that.
I love how Christine reminded us that, dance is really a universal language and it is quite powerful. And that's, another one of the reasons why the lab is what it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we've seen that the pandemic in general. We've seen some pieces that just have like taken the like constriction and kind of obstacles of where we are and just sort of exploded them and said like, you know what? There's all these restrictions, but we're going to make something and make space in them, which is great.
And these pieces are all very simple in nature, and I think, I want to remind us that one of our mottos at New York Theater Barn is limitation is creation, and I'm really seeing that tonight. So, and now we're going to move on to our third and final number of the evening, Tar Beach by choreographer Ariana Andretta.
Ariana holds a BA in theater from SUNY New Paltz, and earlier this year she premiered the Conscious Club for Jazz Choreography Enterprise's 2021 virtual showcase, which I totally watched because I am a big supporter and fan of them too. She has apprenticed with Freddie Ramirez and choreographed and assisted in educational settings throughout New York. And most recently, Ariana debuted her original dance narrative, Love and Other Stories, at Snug Harbor in NYC. So welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. So Ariana, in your bio, you describe yourself as a multi-hyphenate artist who believes in celebrating community through dance and theater. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about that in sort of your background and your own words?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think it's really important with the climate that we're in our industry to avoid labels, So I'm not just a dancer, I'm not just a choreographer, I'm not just an educator. I wear a lot of different hats, as I think a lot of artists do, because we kind of have to by nature, right? So that's what I personally mean when I say multi-hyphenate artist, because I wear so many different hats in my day-to-day. I just came from teaching before tonight, so there you have it. And for me, I think dance by nature is about storytelling. It's about coming together for more than just the movement. So that's why I have that as a core principle when I make my own art, when I participate in art. I really like it to be a collaborative, communal experience.
That's lovely. That's so wonderful. And what you said about wearing many hats just resonates so much. And I really especially like seeing women celebrating and acknowledging and embracing that, because I think for a long time, particularly in our industry, there has been a desire to put women in categories. And I like seeing, I feel even over the last like 5 to 10 years, how that seems to be shifting a little bit, which is really wonderful and deserves to be acknowledged. So anyway, I would love to know a little bit more about the piece we're going to see tonight.
Awesome. So the piece is called Tar Beach. And it all started back in 2020 because my aunt wrote a book with this woman named Susan Mazelis, who is a photographer. Cool. She's featured a lot of really cool photos of like just, the New York City street scenes, and particularly with the focus on Little Italy because that's her background and that's how she knows my aunt. So they made a photo book and my grandmother is actually in it. So it's a very personal story for me in that regards. And I was just like, I really want to make a dance to this. I feel like there's a good story here and there's there's a really good dance that could come out of it. So that was my inspiration behind it. And then I applied for the Choreography Lab, and it was all kind of just magic from there. The timing worked out really well.
That's
that
amazing.
sounds really interesting. We're excited to see that. And we're excited that you were paired with choreographer Shiloh Goodin as your mentor. And Shiloh has been an alumnus of the company before. She worked on an early draft of a show called The Lesson, which we then brought back to the lab. As a performer, Shiloh is appearing in the upcoming Broadway production of Paradise Square, making her Broadway debut. She has choreographed, yes, everybody here knows Shiloh.
It's great. We love that.
She's choreographed for Brooklyn's Gallery Players, Retro Factory Pride Gala, and New York Theater Barn's Choreography Lab, which I mentioned, where I also mentioned that she created choreography for a number from Avi Amon, Nolan Duran, and Ty Defoe's original musical, The Lesson, which is a queer retelling of Beethoven and Mozart's Chance Meeting. She also worked as an associate at the Public Theater, the Kennedy Center, and at Bucks County Playhouse, and she's the co-founder of Collectus, a home base for artists flying solo. Ariana, what did you find most encouraging about working with Shiloh?
I really enjoyed how available she made herself to me from the beginning of the process, because that's when I personally found myself scrambling a little bit, because everything is such a quick turnover, right? Like finding your dancers, finding your space, breathing, juggling all of your jobs to survive as an artist. And she really had an open door policy that I could send her a voice text at like 10:30, 11 at night when I'm done with my work shift, and she'd be ready. And she's like, it's okay. And yeah, I just really appreciated how open she was. I think that that's really important to have in a mentor. So.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I think Shiloh is just amazing. And I'm also going to say Collectus is really super cool and where it's at. And if you don't know about that, the organization that she co-founded earlier this year, you should check that out. Before we show you Ariana's choreography, we do have one more fun video for you. Shiloh was not able to be here because she is in pre-production for this Broadway-bound show, like no big deal. But she did have some thoughts she wanted to share about the experience working on this project with Ariana. So let's go to that video now.
Hi, my name is Shiloh, and I mentored Ariana on her piece today. What I really love about this piece is that she is bringing her own personal story and something that really means something to her from her family and from her heritage into her work. And that's one of the most exciting things about dance work to me, is when we sort of tell something that is bursting forth from inside of us. Mentoring has been a really special experience. I just really like asking questions. You never know if they're exactly the right question, but to have a different voice in the room, to offer a slightly different perspective to help guide the process, I think is really important in any creative process, and especially after the year we've had, being able to tell our stories in a creative way and move our bodies and get to move with other people is just so special. So congratulations to all of the choreographers tonight, and I can't wait to see your work.
All right, that was great. Shiloh is so lovely and wonderful. Okay, I think it's time for us to see Ariana's piece, Tar Beach. This number was filmed on location, fittingly on a rooftop in Little Italy.
Ooh, and this piece features performances by 4 people who I'm going to let you know about in just a moment as soon as I can see their names. Fantastic. Their names, this piece is performed by Lauren Cagnetta, Jackie Evans, Nicholas Nizzaro, and Katie Rose Stephenson.
When this old world starts getting me down, and people are just too much for me to face, I'll climb way up to the top of the stairs, and all my cares just drift right into space. It's peaceful as can be, and there the world below can't bother me. Let me tell you now, when I come home feeling tired and beat, I'll go rich and sweet. I'll get away from the hustling crowd and all that rat race noise down in the street. On the roof, the only place I know where you just have to wish to make it so. Let's go up on the roof. At night the stars put on a show for free. And darling, you can share it all with me. I keep telling you the right smack dab in the middle of town. I found a paradise that's trouble-proof. And if this old world starts getting you down, there's room enough for two up on the roof. Up on the roof, everything is alright. Up on the roof, up on the
Oh, Ariana, that was just terrific. I loved how the piece just switched back and forth and just had all of this lovely, like, you know, color shifting and all of this great stuff in it. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you conceptualized the movement for the first time period versus the second time period?
Sure. So I feel like I wanted the movement to flow a little bit more and be a calmer for the first time period.
Sure.
And I like all the moments of breath that we had and just kind of stillness. And I find that that actually translates really well sometimes, especially when you're doing period-inspired work, right? Because back then everything was so, even in pictures, like if you look at some of the pictures from the photo book, everything is very poised and posed and proper. So that kind of influenced a lot of that styling and that movement.
Oh, cool. No, I like that. And I think that that was really apparent. And then I obviously also want to know the same kind of question I've been asking throughout the evening. Is there anything in particular you can point to in the piece that really shifted or changed due to your conversations and time working with Shiloh?
Yeah, I would say the fact that we filmed on a rooftop. A lot of our conversations were like, oh, is this actually going to work on tar and on a rooftop?
Yeah.
There was wet tar on that roof. Some of our clothing, we have fun stories now to look back on, you know?
Oh.
But it was definitely a game changer. And so just going in with that awareness and knowing that things might have to change and that you couldn't really stage and direct things in such a way until you got there.
Sure.
So that was something we navigated together.
Great. No, that's true. I mean, I think doing things and filming things on location, like we sometimes take for granted, especially if we are like stage makers or studio makers. We're like, oh yes, this is fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. And then you get to like the field or the roof or the beach or and you're like, everything's not fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can totally see how that would be helpful. Well, listen, it was great getting to chat with you, and we will be chatting with you very soon with the entire group of humans that we have had with us today. But first, we are going to take a quick little look at the Choreography Lab through the years. We have a reel of the lab that celebrates the work of our community of artists through the lab's entire 8-year history. Let's take a look at that right now. All right, we're back, and I'm just going to give a quick little round of applause to everyone who is sitting here because everything that you all made was wonderful and that you mentored was wonderful. So just as a reminder, we have the lovely Rachel Leigh Dolan, we have Sarah Juliet Shaw, we have Ariana Andretta, and we have Christine Shepard. So let's just talk a little bit. Choreographers, did you feel like you were able to dig any deeper into narrative and character development because you were telling stories that you created yourself?
So I'm going first because I have the microphone.
Yep.
I think I base a lot of my work in general on my personal life. So for this particular story, I was thinking of my grandparents, and I was thinking about how they didn't really have much. So going to Tar Beach was kind of like going on vacation upstairs in your tenement building. And it was a really special place. It was a place you went to sneak a cigarette, which you probably shouldn't have been doing as a teenager because you would get yelled at. The inspiration for Katie's character came from my grandmother chopped all her hair off when she was younger, and that was like her way of rebelling against the patriarchy back then, because that's what you did in the 40s, I guess. So little things like that, and just hearing the actual stories from my family members that are still, I'm fortunate that they're still here to tell me them. So that inspired a lot of my character work and development for this dance.
That's awesome. Other friends, anything you'd like to share? Sure, yeah.
Sharing is caring. I found a lot of inspiration because I had the opportunity to be able to create dance work and write. As a child, I grew up writing. I was part of, it's called Power of the Pen, and it's a competitive, like, creative writing team.
Yes.
So, like, you and like your nerd friends that were on this squad would go across all different parts of Ohio, and you were timed to create an original short storied piece with a prompt. Everybody had the same prompt in the room. So you were timed, I think you had 1 hour to write a full story, and you were numbered by how complete your story was. Did you spell anything right? Did it, you know, just things like that. So from a young age, I've always been inspired by taking the power of words and what that can be and what that can become. So it felt like a very exciting moment for me to be able to cross my two loves of writing and dance together. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, like I said, my piece was, the characters of the piece were very much inspired by the track, the music, and I think, like I said, I was very stressed originally by the copyrighted music requirement, or non-copyrighted music requirement, and so I think that we are all in agreement there. But I'm so happy that sort of restriction was placed on us, because I would never have come up with the idea that I came up with if I hadn't been driven to that piece of music. And that's really where my character development came from, I think.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Inspiration comes from all sorts of places, and we just never really know. So in these panel discussions, we often are talking about the work, right, that we are making, because this is a panel about making new work. But I do want to focus our conversation a little bit more about mentorship today, particularly just this lab feels so full circle for me. I was really, really just jazzed and inspired by the idea of having all of our mentors be past participants of our lab, and really, quite frankly, just proud that the lab has gotten to a point where, like, that was a possible thing to do. So I guess I just want to hear a little bit, and maybe let's hear from Rachel first, since we haven't heard yet, mentorship career, like, on both ends of the thing.
Yeah. So mentorship has been a big part. I think as choreographers, there's not one track. It would be super cool. Like if we got to go to a certain school, you got out of that certain school, and then you knocked on Broadway's door and they said, "Hi, hello. I see that you've accomplished this particular track. We'd love to have you come choreograph for us."
Like being like a dentist.
Right.
But like a choreographer.
Right. And wouldn't that be so amazing? But it's not that way. And my journey has been this way, and my mentors, their journey has been this way. And so we lean on the education that we learn in the room with people. And having spent much of my career in DC working in regional, I worked in one certain way, and then when I moved to New York and got a chance to be in the room with people like Dennis, who's been a mentor for this program also, and is someone I consider a mentor to me each and every day of my life, is I learn how they are in the room and how I can accomplish more if I take on the work in a way that they would take on the work. Or those little nuggets of things like Sarah was talking about, being just in the studio with me assisting or taking class. We're learning from each other all the time. And the great thing on this side of being in mentorship is that I get an opportunity to learn from Sarah or anybody else that I work with and what they bring to a space and how she works and what's important to her and what she sees and what she hears in music. And just to kind of like go back on what you were talking about, the copyright music, it was a point of stress. And I feel this, and we talked about this in our first Zoom conversation, is like, sometimes we do our best work when we're in a box. When you have an open-ended sort of assignment like this, it can be really challenging to narrow it down to one idea. And Sarah was forced to change her concept, and I think it produced a better piece. So I think through those conversations where I was like, no, I think this is a good thing. Let's go for it. You have that bouncing back, and I think that that's where mentorship really holds the key for all of us in our success. And then one day, maybe there will be that program, like the dentist, that will take me from school to the Broadway stage. But until then, here we are.
Oh, I love all of that. Do any of the three of you have some things you'd like to say kind of about just mentoring in a more broad space or esoteric way?
Yes, mentoring is everything to me. Like my mentors, I mean, not just, you know, in my sort of new journey as a choreographer, but as a dancer, I would not be where I am without my mentors. Hands down, 110%. I know that some of you are watching, you know who you are. I would not be where I am without my mentors. I've been doing a lot of assisting in classes, not just Rachel, but a handful of other choreographers over the course of the pandemic. And not only have I learned so much as a choreographer and as a dancer, it's helped me to be quicker on my feet, but it has also given me the opportunity to be having mentors has given me the opportunity to be in rooms over the past year and a half that I know that I'm lucky to have been in. Simply just the opportunity to be in a studio at all over the past year and a half. It was literally what got me through the week sometimes last year. So yeah, my mentors are everything to me. I would not be here without them.
Some stuff, yeah.
Hot potato, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a little round robin.
No, totally. I have a very opposite experience. I have struggled my entire career so far to really feel like I connect with a mentor. I find a lot of inspiration from people who either do nothing like I do, or have reached a certain level of accolades that I aspired to see. But sometimes I blame myself. I'm extremely independent. I'm an extremely strong, passionate thinker. And I'm looking for somebody to bounce back ideas off of. I don't always need ideas. Sometimes that's what kind of like, I'm so full of ideas that I actually need somebody to like sweep the cobwebs. Like, girl, that's from 2009. Like, let that die. Nobody needs to see that, you know? And so it has been a process for me to really find people that, and sometimes they're not even artistic. You know, I have that kind of multifaceted brain where, like, I like numbers. Like, hit me with some calculated things, and that actually sometimes I can translate that and use that in my art. I'm just very weird like that. So I find it exciting to hear how mentorship has really affected your life. Because, you know, it's one of those things that sometimes you get a mentor when you're 6, and that's the person that raises you and grows up, Chloe and Beyonce, thank you very much. And then, you know, sometimes you're 45 and you live under somebody in the apartment building, you're like, who knew that you're gonna help me write my autobiography? You know, I try not to pretend like I can predict how it's gonna go down. So yeah.
That's great. Want to add anything to that, or?
I don't know if I can, but I'll try. So
you don't have to if you feel good, but
well, I think it's an important conversation to have, though, right? And I think I feel in between the both of you because I've had really great mentors, but at the same time, it's so hard to find them, I think. And I'm grateful for this program and that you paired us with people because, like Rachel was saying, it's not like you can just even find a choreography internship or apprenticeship. Like I've had maybe 2 of those, and when I tell you how many websites I had to go on to even see if it existed back in college, and like they have production internships, they have even assistant directing internships. How come we don't have them for choreography? And how come we're not preparing people in programs? I would really love to see a program that could do that. Yeah. And in terms of my mentors, I love you all so much. Thank you for being in my life.
Oh, I love that. Let's do, I think, one more. I want to do one more question, and this is sort of this little quote. There's something I read recently that on every job you learn something new, and it's never the thing you think you are going to learn, right? And so I'm just kind of curious, for all of you, do you feel like there's something that you're taking away from this experience, working in this lab, working with your mentors, that was like surprising or unexpected? And also even sort of surprising and unexpected maybe on the other end of things too. So something that just maybe sticks out to you as something that like you will take with your into your choreographic toolkit, or just into like your life toolkit? Yeah.
Anybody want to start, or is it me? I can go.
You got the mic.
I got the mic.
You got the mic. You might
ready.
have to do it.
I will say that this is the calmest I've been in a choreographic process, and I am pleasantly surprised by that. I really am surprised, and I don't know if it was because I knew I had someone to fall back on as a support system, and that was new, like to just have someone automatic ready for me to ask questions, or if it's just because I'm finally in a place where I'm like, okay, we're just gonna go in, we're gonna tell a good story, and we're gonna have fun while we do it, because the rest I don't have control over, right? Like I don't have control over studio space half the time, or music rights, which is a whole nother conversation that we could sit here and have all night, right? But yeah, just going in calmly and trying to roll with the punches. That's been my biggest learning curve from this process for sure.
Cool.
I mean, you're next to me, so why not? Why not? Real quick, because you both have mentioned copywriting, and how that was definitely a moment of like, all right, let me reassess where I'm at. I felt so fortunate. So the music I used was written and produced by one of my closest friends. It's a single off of her album that is about to come out on Halloween this year. Quick plug, Ari Grooves, she's amazing. Okay, sorry. But I just found that interesting because that completely changed the direction in which I made my piece as well once I had to abide to said rules and things like that. So it's cool how rules sometimes can create art. But in regards to what I think I'm going to take away from this experience, gosh, I think what was the most rewarding, honestly, I had such just a stellar team of people. And it really proved to me that I am a leader, and I can be a leader. And I don't like to admit that usually because I think when you take on the leadership role, sometimes you can forget to learn. And I know that I will stop growing when I stop learning. So I've shied away from the leadership position for a long time and worried that it will inflate my ego, or it will cause me to forget what it's like to be on the other side, because I feel like we've met so many people like that, where you're like, weren't you a dancer too? Why are you making me stand on my head for 3 hours? Like, you know what I mean? I've always been tiptoey of the leadership position, of having people look to me for, well, is this right, Christine, or is it on 5 or 6? Because at the end of the day, it's my choice. I'm so used to it being like, well, they said 5, so like, let's do it on 5. And I have to tell you whether it's 5 or 6, and I'm like, it could be 7 for all I know. So this process was a very good pat on the back of like, you can lead and not be an awful mean person and feel like you need to yell at people to get them to listen to you. And like I said, I was so fortunate of a cast to be, they're just cheerleaders, man. They were just rooting for me, as even more so I think than I was rooting for myself. So that was an amazing blessing.
Oh, that's awesome. Here, we'll just go down. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Similarly to that, I definitely felt like this process taught me to have a lot more confidence in myself. I've definitely historically not liked to be the person in charge either. I like to be sort of the person who like does all of the work, but not actually the face of like. When I was in college, I was in like the dance team, and when we were seniors, like all the other seniors ran for like president of the dance team, and I wanted to be the publicist. I did like all of the work, but I didn't want to be the president. You know what I mean? Because I feel that with you. It's a hard place to be, and so and sort of tying that in, sort of back with the mentorship thing. Actually, one of my dancers, Marjorie, is a mentor of mine. And I've been assisting her class for a long time now, so it was like I knew that I wanted her in the piece because I knew that she was right for what I needed. But it was a little bit scary to put myself in like a situation where I was telling her what to do. But I mean, she's so wonderful and sweet that I didn't think it would be a problem necessarily, but it definitely was a test of my confidence. And like Rachel said, I'm ready. That was like one of the last things she said to me when we like before today. I was telling her that I didn't think I was ready, and she was like, "No, you're ready." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool, I am ready." Yeah. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'm going to take away from this experience.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, Rachel, you're going to give us the final word. Final word on takeaways.
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from every experience is to expect the unexpected. And I think all three of you experienced that with this process. And that's how every process is. There's always going to be something. And as choreographers, we're problem solvers. We solve the director's problems very often in a production. And I mean that in the most loving way. We're often just given a lot of big tasks to help seamlessly create a piece from beginning to end, whether it's for film or if it's for a musical. And so we do need to be strong leaders, we need to be strong collaborators, and we always need to know, when am I in an associate hat, when am I in the choreographer hat, when am I in the dancer hat, and how to be in all of those places at once sometimes. So I think that that's probably the biggest takeaway. Expect the unexpected every single time.
That was amazing. Thank you again to the four of you lovely, fabulous humans for being here. I'm just going to give you another little applause. And yeah, I loved seeing all of your pieces this evening, and I am so, so thrilled and so thankful that we were able to have this conversation. And thank you, you know, for rolling with everything and for turning this into a beautiful, wonderful presentation. All right, I think we're going to wrap this up. So we'll transition. Thank you. Little kickball change.
Awesome.
Oh, I've still got this mic, but that's fine. It's behind my back now.
That was so wonderful. You know, I love that Sarah said, you know, am I ready? And I think, you know, the Choreography Lab is about learning while doing. So are we ever ready? We have to just decide when we're ready. And, you know, one of the other parts about New York Theater Barn is that we are about the investment of process. And so that's another part of what this lab is. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining us tonight. It was incredible to speak in community with, we had 8 women on the screen and here tonight, so it was really thrilling. It was exciting to speak in community with all of you. So that's our show for tonight. So thank you to Broadway Dance Center and Full Out Creative for producing this with us and for a thrilling collaboration.
Yes, it was truly wonderful. I am so, so grateful to all of our partners. Without their support, the 8th season of the Choreography Lab would not have been possible. And I am thankful that New York Theater Barn has continued to gracefully adapt and evolve to circumstances as they continue to shift.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's certainly been a wonderful adventure.
Yes, as always. We do look forward to announcing our 2022, that's like future. I can't really believe that that's words we're saying, but our 2022 Choreography Lab dates soon. Season 9, that is really, really something. We'll be sharing more about our plans for Season 9 as they develop.
But before Season 9 of the Choreography Lab, join us on Monday, November 1st for the return of our new work series in person at the Cell. Our featured original musicals include Jariah Kwame's How to You, a musical guide to Black boyhood, and From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by Jess Penzias, Adam Ben David, and Kristen Budznia. and directed by Sammy Candle. It'll be an exciting night of new musicals and conversation, and we hope to see you there.
Absolutely. And if you like the work that you saw tonight and you're excited and inspired to invest in artists, please consider making a donation to New York Theater Barn.
That's right, and the number to give is 631-710-NYTB. Again, that number is 631-710-NYTB or 631-710-6982, and you can also donate online at nytheaterbarn.org/give.
All right, thank you for tuning in tonight, and thanks for being here on Joel Barros' birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Joel Barros. Happy birthday to you.
Wow, they're such great singers.
That's our show.
Awesome, and we're not blowing out a candle because that's against...
COVID safe.
Awesome, thank you all so much. It is my birthday, and that's our show for tonight. Good night.
Good night.